Welcome back, everyone. Episode 46, the Unlocked Podcast, where dreams are made. It's a new slogan.
Yeah, I like it. We're just a handful of podcasts away from 1 full year, 52 episodes.
Think we'll make it?
A few of us might.
What? That's one of those statements that you really look back in your life and wondering what you're doing. Oh boy, the Unlocked Podcast brought to you today by Tony's Sauna and Chad's Beard Products. Find them online on Chad. See, I'm really ad-libbing the intro here a bit. You're
doing great,
yes,
Lars.
The Unlocked Podcast.
No one would ever guess that you were ad-libbing.
Well, if they've been listening to any of these, they'd realize there's a bit of ad-lib that happens. But we are three business owners across North America. We all own security companies in the locksmith and related field industry. I'm Lars Johnson. I'm in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. And I'm joined today by the man on the right. If you're not watching on YouTube, this doesn't make a lot of sense, but the guy in the sauna, Tony Hokanson.
Yes, Tony Hokanson out of Minneapolis, Minnesota with Assured Security. We're in Loc-Doc green today, or some form of green.
A little bit call that Loc-Doc green.
A little bit of improvement over Loc-Doc green.
Yeah, that's Augusta National green right there.
It's beautiful.
It is.
It is.
I'm Chad Lingefelt from Charlotte, North Carolina with Loc-Doc Security. And I was this is not sponsored, by the way, but SecLock sent me this notepad
of paper,
which has been very beneficial. But I was just noticing, because I started thumbing through it, every single page is different. It has a different either product in the background. One is like lines, one's grid. It's like this one's got Sudoku on it. Yeah, it's like somebody spent a lot of time selecting. Like there's one on here with a crossword.
You thought that this was the way to start a podcast, that you would thumb through a notepad and tell all of the listeners how exciting it is to have different
I was
shapes
just impressed.
On your paper. Somebody
in the marketing department at SecLock went through and I don't know, put together 150 different sheets of paper.
That's
good.
So hopefully the edit will catch that segment.
Sure.
And
what's been going on, guys? It's been almost 2 weeks since we've recorded.
It's been a while. I see things have changed for you, Tone. You're still staring blankly into the distance.
Yeah.
He's not sitting in his car this episode, so that's
he's not
an improvement.
sweating like a block of cheese in rural Minnesota. That's nice.
Temperature has dropped nicely here. We're in the 60s now. It's beautiful.
Oh, that's riveting stuff.
Yeah.
Anything new? What's going on in Assured Security?
We're working on upgrading our building, doing some renovations, putting in some fancy lights and some fancy flooring, and
showroom is coming together quite nicely.
You're renovating it.
Yeah, well, that wasn't our showroom. It was literally our field operations area. But
sorry,
looks kind of like a showroom.
Your field operations showroom is looking fantastic.
Yes.
Yeah. So
that's exciting.
Yeah, glossy floors and a big honeycomb LED light.
And you guys are still, you've got the one store in Minneapolis still?
Yes.
Yeah, and then the larger one. And do you guys own that building?
No.
Well,
you were looking. My father does. Yes.
Kind of.
Well, I mean, it's in the family.
Ish.
Fair enough. So you do own it. Yeah. Gotcha.
Sure.
Yeah. Gotcha. What's happening there, Smiley Jim in North Carolina? What's happening with you?
Oh, man, we've been having a lot of fun with getting prepped for 2026. So we're
God, that's scary.
It is, isn't it? I had this realization the other day that we have crossed a level of business maturity, I guess, that we actually have to think about the next year before it happens, which is a bit of a challenge. Yeah. So we're plotting out and planning our first offsite leadership planning session, and it's going to happen in September, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So trying to get ahead of it. We've been noticing an interesting pattern with our customers that are asking for pricing commitments and all things related to the next year about a quarter ahead of the year. So we are trying to get ahead of that. So
That's a new trend you're seeing?
Well, it is. Over the last maybe 3 years, we have seen the timeline continuing to push forward on us. So for years, I've known that a lot of our customers do budget seasons in August. But this is starting, I think it's based off of the type of customers that we are acquiring or the size of customers, but there's a lot more customer agreements happening earlier on, and they want some pricing, some service pricing ahead of time. And so in order for us to be able to be ready for that, we need to know what we're planning for the next year instead of doing it after
actually,
the year
I
starts.
got a message from Alexis Wodinsky. She's in Irvine, California.
That's how they talk there.
And it was actually her brother's birthday yesterday.
Oh,
that's Maddie. Yeah. But I was talking to Alexis, and it was the same thing.
Completely not going to align with the release of this podcast. So,
oh, well. Yeah.
Anyways,
so
happy belated birthday, Matt.
Yeah. So, but Alexis was saying the same thing. She had a service provider, saying they wanted locked in pricing for a year for all like 18,000 things that they sell.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Yeah, not doing that." So, yeah, but maybe that's a growing trend.
Yeah. So last year we ran into it quite heavily, and it became a bit of a hurdle for us as an operation. And so I had a conversation with a couple of different business owners in our space or in our market, and the conversation basically came back is that's not new. It's just new for you. So you either adapt to it and get prepared for it, or you just tell people no, and then you are going to kind of limit your customer opportunities.
What do you think's driving that?
I mean, you're dealing with multi-billion-dollar organizations that want to lock in their budgets and their expected expenses for the upcoming year. So they're having to push on their vendors to get it. And if you're doing handshake agreements with people, then it is what it is. But if you're committing to a certain amount of work with a customer over a period of years, then or a time period, then they want to know what to expect. Yeah. Is our pricing going? Is our pricing going to go up 15%? We need to be aware of it so that we don't get hit and blindsided.
Yeah, and I guess that's maybe just as you're moving away from the mom and pop shop type of customer and moving towards some of the larger ones. That's probably where you're seeing that, because I don't imagine the hair salon is doing
correct
annual budgeting.
Yeah, because they're not
locksmith services.
Yeah, agree. Because they're probably in the same boat as a business our size or smaller that's working on their expenses and budgeting on a more real time basis. Yeah. So that's been, but I think it's fun to get to the point of being able to do that. So we're going to do kind of a day and a half event. We're going to, the first half day, we're going to show kind of a vision of what we see over the next 3 years for our company and kind of get the wheels spinning for that. We're going to do an offsite activity, just kind of some team building and some fun. And then we'll go in for the next day and do a full, basically, how are we going to bring this vision to life? What has to be true in order to do that? And
are you using any reference tool? Like the kind of what you just laid out? Is that, I know that's very similar to what we do with the MSC program, but I know Traction has a bit of that kind of planning. And
so the Vision Traction Organizer, that's an EOS tool that I've used for years and have assimilated for our company. The challenge that I think, and we may be way off topic here, but the challenge that I have run into, and I've been having a lot of counsel with my business coach around it, is I can kind of give you a good game plan as to where I think we need to be or the things that we need to change. The way that we actually implement that has not typically been my strong suit, because I'm a guy that says we should do that, let's go do it, and it gives organizational whiplash. So we've found a pretty good rhythm with our leadership team to be able to, here's where we need to go, let's figure out how to do it, and then they implement it at a very intentional pace. So the point of this offsite is to take that tool and then implement it more holistically across the entire organization, rather than it just being a one-off scenario or a one-off procedure.
Yeah, that's funny, because on our end we literally did that last week.
Nice.
So exactly, we did our offsite, and same thing. It was about a day and a half. Had an event at night. Went bowling I mean, I brought home the title, Sneaky Bowlers in our company.
Yeah.
We had some sneaky good bowlers. Didn't expect that, but that was same thing. Just planning, forecasting for next year, kind of putting everything together. And I think we used VTO as well, which is part of the traction.
So you
book.
won the bowling tournament.
No, I beat Matt though, and that's really what matters.
Oh, okay. I was just getting ready to say, is this another? You won the club championship at every club that you own?
Yeah, I don't know what kind of lunatic would ever state that, but whoever it is, I'd vote for him. So he should be in charge, whoever that guy is. Okay, let's not get down that path. But it is a bit of an interesting pivot, because I know today we are talking about breaking through that revenue barrier. Mm-hmm. Specifically, we're going to focus at the $3 million mark, because I think that's probably the first hurdle you get to. So I'm going to set a bit of the stage for you guys, and then look, I don't know, maybe we'll talk just a little bit about how we got there, where we were, and how we would go about doing it. Not necessarily how we did do it, which was a mess, mm-hmm. but how you should do it. So pretty common in our industry, you're going to have a mom and pop shop. Generally speaking, it starts with husband and wife, and husband turns wrenches and wife keeps things organized. That is how probably 90% of locksmith companies started. They then hire someone, and now they have a guy in a truck, a guy half inside, and then they have somebody keeping the books, and then they probably have a third guy. Eventually somebody's answering the phone, and it kind of builds back and forth. They hire a technician. Yeah. So we know that somebody on the road is going to do revenue of anywhere between, I'd say about $300,000 is a pretty good estimate, right? So that means you're going to get to about, I'm going to say 7 technicians and a couple in the, couple in a retail location. So you're right at that spot where you've got about 10 staff, 8 staff, 10 to 12 in that range. Probably haven't got a salesman. You certainly don't have mid-level management. You might have a senior person, but you kind of hit that spot. And now you're sitting there thinking, okay, what's my next, step? Because I remember, I go back to Tony, we talked, when was that? We talked about the messiness of that growth.
You remember that 4 years ago?
Yeah. And I said the next 2 years is going to be a complete train wreck for you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was...
we were about 5 or 6 million then, but yeah.
Yeah. But it was about that... about that same level. I know you guys have some access control and the electronics, which add to that revenue line. But that might be part of the conversation too. But, that traditional locksmith company, most are going to stall out right at about that $3 million mark. And I'm just curious, why do you think that is? Why don't we start there? Why do you think they stall out at that 3 million revenue?
I think there's a couple things. One, I think that is about the ceiling at which one person can kind of, I don't want to say control everything, but be involved in most aspects. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people, they start out as a technician or a salesperson themselves, and they're very heavily involved in one or both of those areas. Mm-hmm. And I think that's sustainable up to about that 15, 20 employee mark. And I think that's just, you become the limiting factor. And I think a lot of times people are very hands-on, and they're very involved in that. And if you don't remove yourself from those areas, you're going to just get bogged down. I think the second piece of that is a lot of times the owner at that point may have 2 to 4 people they rely on for managing, maybe. Mm-hmm. And really, when you get to that point, you need to start putting in some form of a management team or field management team or some sort of a management team to help elevate you to that next level. And I think especially... and make
decisions,
yes.
I think is the big thing, because you'll generally have those, but when it comes down to it, the decision is still made by that primary person.
Correct.
Right.
Yep. And almost all decisions I think are probably at that point. So I think those are kind of the two things. Is one, it's just a natural barrier for people to be able to be involved in everything at that point, and then you kind of stall out. And 2, part of that is just not having that management team to help you do that. Mm-hmm. And I think especially in a trades industry, it's hard to institute that management team, because you have people that are very good at what they do. They're very good at selling. They're very good at installing. They're very good at whatever the industry niche is. And they don't really necessarily always have those management skills or want.
Just because you're good at turning a wrench doesn't mean you want to manage other people turning wrenches.
Right.
And
I think that probably applies to some owners of locksmith businesses too. You don't necessarily, you became a locksmith because you're good at fixing things. You don't not necessarily good at fixing people. And I think that's part of the ceiling that gets put in place.
Yeah. It's, I think the other one I'm going to bring up is cash flow, because I know that was something, you start getting to that 3 million in revenue, you're probably going to have 3 million divided by 12. So it's 300,000 a month, a little less, 250,000 means your AR is probably looking at 300,000 or 400,000 a year, a month at any given time.
Yep.
And that means you're fronting cash of 300,000, and, collections become a pain in the butt. And, all of these processes that have just kind of grown organically are now not documented. So it's a bit of cash flow becomes a crunch.
And you really have to start being more forward thinking and planning ahead, and doing things like you guys were just talking about with annual goal planning, and just kind of thinking about what does the next year look like? What does the next 90 days look like? It's less of a reactive mode and more of a proactive planning mentality.
Strategy. I hate the goal setting and planning and crap, just all those buzzwords that happen. But really what we're doing is actually talking about a strategy and having some idea of what is going to happen.
Yep.
That's really it. Chad, you're stroking your beard and you're annoying me a bit.
Good.
Which is pretty on
brand.
Plan
is working well.
Yes. What is
I don't think it's a $3 million ceiling. I don't think it's a value ceiling. I think it's a number of people ceiling.
Okay.
It's a direct people management ratio.
Yes.
There's and there's a couple of reasons why I think that your limit becomes that. But if you and the reason I want to dive into that is because I may be sitting here listening going, well, that's stupid. I'm at 3.5 million or I'm at 2 million and like whatever, like I'm not at that point, but there's a number of people, and it may be 12, it may be 15 or 17. It's whatever your max is that you can manage, but there becomes a limiting factor there where you will start to cycle humans. So you have, maybe it's 16 people is the max that you can manage effectively. And once you hire the 17th person, one of the other 16 will quit and leave. And you think it's a people problem, that you can't find good people, and that I can't trust anybody to do anything. And I would argue that it's a you problem, because you don't allow those people to take full responsibility of anything, and so they leave to go somewhere that they can.
Right.
That's why you
where they're
cycle
more
those
fulfilled.
Yep. And that's why they cycle out. And this has happened to me. This has happened to Lars. This has happened to Tony, guaranteed, that we get to that point. And so and then there's some specific formulas that say the certain number of revenue per person, all that stuff. And so that's where you get your 2.5 to 3.5 million probably in that ceiling or that cap. But it comes back down to the people management side is how many people can I effectively support? Can I effectively manage? And how many people can I effectively control the decisions around? And that's where the ceiling happens, in my opinion.
Yes.
That's where the ceiling happens. Is I'm trying to
quite
choose,
as catchy a title.
Yeah,
but
I'm trying to choose my words specifically, because I don't think it's a control perspective of meaning I need to control people, but I need to control the outcomes.
Outcomes, yes.
And so therefore 100%. I'm limited in the responsibilities that I will allow people to take full control of. And so now that becomes a time and mental drain on me. And that's why it's going to be a little bit of difference, because one person might only be able to handle 12 people and one person might be able to stretch and get 17, but there is a human limiting factor. And it's until like, that is the real big thing. If you break it down.
Yes.
I can't get those are common conversations. I can't find good people, and I can't trust people to do the right thing. So therefore you are now limiting people's ability to do.
It's the decision making. Everyone has a limit of decision making that they can make until they offload some of the decision making to someone else, which takes a lot of trust and a lot of experience and comfort, because it's risk. It's a risk tolerance to let somebody else make impactful decisions. But it just depends. What is your capacity to make decisions? And that's where you're going to hit that ceiling. Some of us, it's $1 million. Some of us, it's 3 million. It just will depend on the person. But I think, that's kind of where we're at. The common things you're going to find. Like I laugh because I'm going to laugh at Tony and I directly. And Chad, you were probably there before us. But, some of the common things you'll see, that people that are in that glass ceiling.
Yep.
You're probably answering the phone and dispatching. You're probably still quoting.
Possible.
You're doing sales. You're probably going to site to when there's a difficult situation. Like you're very actively in it.
Well, I think there's when we talk about this, you get like the business decisions, but I think it's more of the technical decisions that become the limiter.
Right.
You're probably also in control of all of the master key systems. So you have to hand out the next bidding cuts. You're probably making selection on hardware for particular projects.
Buying tools.
Buying tools.
You're probably getting vans.
Yep.
You're
Go out
ordering
shopping
business
at the
cards.
dealership.
organizing the repair. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So these are the things that we're going to see. If that, tweaked anything for anyone listening, you're probably part of the bottleneck, and you're probably part of what is causing this glass ceiling.
Yeah, I think going back to what you said about strategy, we've talked about on previous podcasts how as a business owner, president, CEO, your goal is focusing on that strategy, looking ahead, where do you want to go? And I think what it comes down to is a lot of times in that 20 employee range, you're too involved in the day-to-day operational tasks, and you don't have the time to focus on that strategy. And that because you're not forward thinking and looking at that, you're not putting enough effort into proactively growing, and then you just kind of stall out.
So yes, you're active in the day-to-day business.
Yes.
Meaning that you're making decisions or involved in the decision making on a day-to-day basis.
Correct.
Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Transactional.
You're operationally
decision-making.
involved in core operations functions of the business, whether it be selling, quoting.
Yep. Where should we order this part from?
Correct.
Or this customer has this door issue. What do we do about it? Or that type of situation.
So, and this, I think to some extent, virtually everyone that will be listening to this, including ourselves, are stuck in there in one way or another.
For sure.
I
think the three of us, we're lucky enough to have support teams in place that can take care of a lot of this, but I guarantee we're still doing some of it.
Yeah. But I think going back to that kind of core functionality, how do you entrust people to make decisions or pick up that responsibility and go do that and them have a similar, if not better outcome than what you would make?
Right.
That's unlocking growth, because up until that point, you're going to come in and second guess every decision. You're going to undo those decisions and make people do it twice. And then most likely berate them or belittle them at minimal that they made a bad decision, to which case you're reinforcing them not to make that decision again.
Right.
And so they're going to ask you, and then you're going to get frustrated and resentful because they come and ask you to make a decision.
So what I'm going to ask then, because it sounds like what we're talking about starts with us, starts with you, the bottleneck, the person. So how did you guys change your mindset to be okay with the, others making decisions on behalf of you and your company? How did you change that mindset?
Tony, did we have this conversation literally 3 days ago about mindset shift for?
Thanks for inviting me.
No, I
Something I said, guys?
I feel like I was talking to you on the phone while walking down the fairway, and we were talking about helping. Checks out.
This was a Wednesday afternoon, obviously. Yeah,
I don't remember what day. It's that part's irrelevant. But we were talking about how the shift, because you asked me the question, how did you shift, or where was your mindset at shifting to get other people involved in decision making or for asking for help? You remember that conversation? He's staring at me very oddly.
Literally have no recollection of it.
Okay.
It might not have been him.
I'm
I know
confident it
we
was.
have talked about.
Yeah.
You're confident it was Tone?
I 100% know it was Tony, because it was relative to
you hung up exhausted and annoyed.
Anyways, I was talking about a couple of books that I'd read. One was The Idea Monkey, Turn the Ship Around, and probably a little later on, there was another one that I'd read. But anyways.
Yes, okay. Now I remember this conversation.
Okay. Welcome back, Tone.
So
it didn't relate to this at all, though. But
it was about understanding that you needed to change your outlook on something, because you get into a very controlling perspective where I need to be involved in everything, because if I don't make the decision, it's probably not going to be right, or I don't have a reliance on other people to be involved in the decisions.
Right. So recap this conversation a little bit.
Still not.
Tony, it's not the important part. What we're trying to get to here is, what did you do to change that mindset?
Yeah, that's a great question.
Because it has to start there. Everything we've talked about so far is that it comes down to you being in control of outcomes. How do you change your mindset?
I think Turn the Ship Around was really the biggest.
Which is a book, correct?
Yeah, that's just looking back on my bookshelf.
Okay.
Is the biggest element that unlocked in my mind that I didn't need to be involved in every decision. Now, that was just the first element of movement. I don't think it was the fix all or like the magic pill, but it was the first that there was an example shown that somebody in a intense situation, in charge of something significantly more impactful than a locksmith and security business, was able to tweak their entire leadership model to involve frontline individuals to make decisions at a high level, and it didn't require the captain's interference.
Right.
Now, the next question was, how did you implement that? But that was the biggest. Yeah, he's all over the place.
No, I'm looking something up. I'm actually.
Well, don't let us.
He's just fact checking. It's
don't
no
let
big
us
deal.
get in the way.
Okay.
So, I think that, to me, the biggest thing was seeing it be successful. Like, delegate. Like, you have to take that step and start delegating things to people, and then when you see somebody taking that and being successful with it, it helps. Okay, I can do more of this. I can do more of this.
Right. Because remind me, who do you have as kind of your service or your technical manager or?
Tyler.
Right.
Yep.
So where'd Tyler come from?
How
long's he been with you?
6 years, 7 years, 8 years? I don't know.
7 years, 8 years. How much time have you spent with him personally?
A lot.
Yeah. And so through osmosis, not the correct term, but through osmosis, he has probably picked up a lot on your decision making.
Yes.
Right. And now you know when he's making decisions that it's going to be at least aligned with how you would attack it. It's not perfect.
Correct. Yep.
And then you saw that the decisions he was making were good and you had to do some course correction here or there, but you just changed your mindset. Is that what you mean?
Yeah, you start to see that work and how much I think for me, it was, I wanted to grow our business, and seeing how that freed up my time to do other things to then grow my business is what motivated me. I don't know, that to me, there was just a realization, like, I am the bottleneck. I need to get out of the way, or otherwise we are going to be stagnant, and I didn't want to be stagnant. So you just have to, I don't know how to explain it, but you just have to do it. Well, if it doesn't work, then you coach the person. If that person's not responding, then it's not the right person. I mean, that seems simple, but you have to identify a person that you can start. I mean, and I think for many of us, and even us when we were that size, it was a team of people, and it still is a team of people. Yeah. I think I've said this before in our Visionary Integrator podcast, but I remember talking to Chad about that when I read Tractioner for like the 5th time. And I was like, who's your integrator? And at the time he was like, well, I kind of have a team of integrators. And I think that's kind of the first step, is like Chad built out that, and we did the same thing. Like, you build out that management team, and you have somebody that is your key individual in sales, your key individual in technical operations, your key individual in finance, your key individual.
Identify people that complement your strengths.
Yes. Right. And you have to identify people that are interested in managing others, and not only interested, but I think that's the biggest piece, because if they're interested, you can hopefully coach them, but also have those sort of skill sets. And they may not need to be managing people right away, but they certainly need to be a go-to for decision making and managing tasks and processes. And then I think that's the first big step, is just identifying those people and giving them the opportunity, give them the chance, and let them fail. You have to be comfortable with that.
Yeah. Chad, you disagree. Your face disagrees. What are you thinking?
I think letting them fail sounds scary to most people. So I don't know that would be a good pitch for.
But I'm not trying to. I don't think we should be beating around the bush. Like, you have to give them authority and be comfortable with the fact that they're not going to make a decision the same way you would, but it's going to be okay. Like, a short-term failure is how you learn.
Yeah, I
mean, I'm not trying to sugarcoat it here. There's going to be things that are done not the same way as you, and you have to be fine with that. You have to be accepting of that.
I think that you can give some parameters. This is the hard part of the growth path that we probably as humans don't really want to put in the hard work for, and that's to set the parameters up front of the risk that we're willing to take. So, go sell this project, maintain this particular margin, and make sure that it can be done within this amount of time. And I don't really care how you get there specifically, but these are the broad parameters. Like, it's got to be done within 3 weeks. It's got to maintain this certain margin, whatever. And you have these 5 people to do it. And so you have to establish a comfortable level of risk, so that, because this is the really hard part about growth and then entrusting people to do things, is we say give somebody kind of a broad blank piece of paper to go execute on, and then when they come back and have a mess, then we can sit there and tell them all the things that they did wrong, or show them how it was a failure. And I think the more functional way to get that growth at a faster pace is to outline what the expectations are with reasonable risk. The one methodology I've used, and I've heard, and I've used it quite significantly, and I because I think it's really fundamental, is the cut the grass methodology, where you're actually giving somebody a very specific, and you can agree upon it together. It's not like, you as the owner or you as a manager have to come up with all of the plans, but that you have asked these particular questions and solved the entire issue, and then let them go make the decisions accordingly. So, so the cut the grass methodology, just to kind of catch up on it, is if I were to say to somebody, hey, can you get the grass cut for us because it's getting a little long? That is so broad that's leaving up to their decision when they're going to cut the grass, the length that they're going to cut the grass, what grass they're going to cut, what they're going to do with the equipment, what kind of equipment they're going to use, etc. Right? Now, they may ultimately cut the grass, or they may cut in some of the grass or none of the grass, because that's the case. Now, what your expectation actually may be from a low risk perspective is, I need to get the grass cut by Thursday because we have an event on Friday, and I need this particular area of the grass cut, and I want A, B, and C done, right?
Right.
And it really doesn't take that long to come up with that, because you intrinsically know what you need done. But we fail to give that information over to somebody else, because we go from one extreme to the other of micromanagement over to lack of management. And then we give somebody this blank sheet of paper, and then they fail. So So once the cut the grass says, I want it cut by Thursday, I want it cut 4 inches long, I want this acre cut, and I want it trimmed, and I want all the equipment put away because we have customers coming over. That is cutting the grass. That individual at that point at least has the decision-making factor of if they're going to involve other people to get it done, if they are going to cut it on Wednesday afternoon versus Thursday morning. Like, they still have some decision-making capabilities inside that, but we have agreed upon a specific outcome.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Now, if they can achieve that, we've established a high level of trust. Now we can move on to the next.
Yeah, you're not focused on the how. You're focused on what you want accomplished. You're giving them your clear expectations. This is what I care about. How you achieve those results is
and
not
I think
irrelevant, but essentially.
There's some relevance. I think one of the KRAs, key results areas that the Ramsey organization talks about a lot, and it's in other books like OKRs and all that stuff, is one of them is it's outcome based. So one of it might be like, your responsibility is to keep the floors clean. Now, I'm not going to micromanage you and tell you to sweep them or mop them or vacuum them or whatever. It's just keep the floors clean. The problem comes in to not having a conversation when you're releasing this responsibility to somebody and getting somebody else to be in charge of making the decisions, is you're not having the conversation of validating what they're going to do. So if somebody's outcome would be to keep the floors clean, and they did that by using a toothbrush to keep the floors clean, then somebody's going to come in and say, what in the heck are you doing? And they're going to say, oh, I'm keeping the floors clean. That's dumb. Why are you doing that? It's taking way too long. That's the exchange of information that you ask for clarity of how are you going to do this, because that's in your coaching model. I need you to be responsible for keeping the floors clean. What do you propose that you would do to do that? Well, I'm going to use a toothbrush. Well, I think that there's a better way to do that, because I don't think you should spend 40 hours a week cleaning the floor.
Right.
Is that track? And I know that's a silly example that probably most everybody listening is going to say that's really stupid, but that's the problem that we run into when we're delegating or releasing these responsibilities. Is we say, go cut these keys, and somebody comes back and has filed keys for 4 weeks, and then we yell at them and say, why did you do it that way? There's an easier way to do it.
Yeah. So I think what I've gathered here is, if you're in one of those situations where you've hit a bit of a ceiling, we're using the $3 million small business, typical 10 employee area, chances are pretty good that if you're sitting there, it's because you are a bottleneck and you are making all the decisions. And if you've fluctuated in that area for multiple years or over a time period and you feel that you're stagnant, I think is the word Tony used, it's probably time to revisit how you are providing leadership and guidance, and specifically the words that are being used, because you probably have so much experience that you say cut the grass and you intrinsically mean this.
Yeah.
But when you say cut the grass, the person on the other side hears, okay, I have to go cut the grass whenever I want, however I want, and they don't hear that. Yeah. So that's probably a good takeaway, is listening and thinking about how you are explaining your delegation of decision making.
I wonder if you could track at that stage how many decisions you're actually making a day. And that probably sounds exhaustive, but because if you were to, while you were saying what you were saying, Lars, I was sitting here thinking, like, how would you assess, because you may be so oblivious to it in your current state that you're not quite sure that you're the bottleneck. But there's probably some assessment, like,
if you're not sure if you are, I'll tell you right now, you are.
That's the easy assessment. But it's like, how many decisions are you making a day? How many directives are you giving a day? How many problems are you solving specifically a day? And then the other thing that I was thinking about is, like, you're probably berating or belittling others' decisions unintentionally.
Yeah, you're critical of them.
Yeah, critical of them, second guessing them, and what you're unintentionally doing is reinforcing the nature that you need to come back to me for the answer.
So why would I do this when I know you're just going to correct me? Just tell me what you want up front.
Correct. And again, somebody may not be as upfront to say that to you, but that's the behavior that's happening behind the scenes.
That's the body language.
Yeah,
that you'll get. Yeah.
one other thing that I was going to mention on the bottleneck, because you mentioned that a few times. Bottlenecks don't just go away; they just move down the chain. So,
very true.
I've had the realization, I think at least 3 times, that I am the bottleneck at that level of growth, and it's been as a result of different behaviors at each time. So, at that 15 employee, $3 million range, I was the bottleneck because I was sales, purchasing, dispatch, all that stuff. Well, at 5 million, I was a bottleneck at it for different reasons. 7, I'm a bottleneck for different reasons. And it will always kind of, and so you bottleneck, ceiling, whatever, it's always going to fall up to that point. But you're, as an owner, going to be the limiter naturally of growth at every level. So your now self-awareness factor is how am I assessing it to get myself out of the way quicker so that it doesn't limit growth?
Yeah. I'm just going through it, and I was going to use an example that I just have no idea where the example came from, but it was at our leadership conference. We were talking about this. I guarantee everyone sitting here listening to this, if you're in a management or a leadership or an ownership position, this will ring true. We call it passing the monkey. So the monkey is the problem, right? And what's supposed to happen is you hire people to take on monkeys, the problems, right? Yeah. But what happens naturally is it gets inverted. And if you're not careful, all the monkeys end up on your desk. I was sitting in our shop this morning. That's a shout out for you, Ken. Sitting in our lock shop this morning, and one of our guys said, "Hey, I got a new phone on the weekend, so I don't know my passwords or anything." And he walks in, and I'm sitting there with our general manager and the 2 partners, and he hands his phone, and our GM grabs it, and I was like, "Whoa." Whoa. I was like, "Graham, you put that phone down, give it right back to him, and where is our ops person or our administrator? That's their job." And then he's like, "Oh yeah, okay." So the guy laughed, and then I was like, "Graham, he just handed you the monkey." He's like, "Well, yeah, it was only 5 minutes." I'm like, "Well, yeah, it's 5 minutes that you just reinforced. The next time we have a monkey, it's going to come back to you." So if you start paying attention to that would be kind of my tip and trick, Chad.
Yep.
That I would say, if you pay attention to when people are in your organization are in a point where they don't know how to do something, they will, if you have set it up so that you're the decision maker, they just walk in and say, "Okay, I've given it the old college try.
Yeah.
Can't figure it out. Here, it's your monkey again."
Yeah, it's like go on Amazon and order one of those old barrel monkey games and have it sitting on your desk. And every time somebody brings you a monkey, move it over into the other bucket. And that's a really good KPI that you can measure. And we'll point out very quickly that you're most likely taking on and solving too many problems for people because you've allowed that to happen.
Yeah, and I'm going to mention, because I've had this experience in the past too, that people would complain, "Well, I just want the answer.
Yeah,
I just want the answer. I don't have time for this." And there are some situations where you don't have a 10-minute conversation to fix a simple problem. But that's where you have to reflect and realize that your language is going to matter on this. Say, I can tell you this answer, and I'm going to, but I want to explain to you my thought process behind it. And because that helps alleviate that, I don't know, it's like the mental, I'm not sure, I want to say dissonance, but it's people,
coaching.
Yeah, people just get sick, just to give me the answer.
Yeah.
It's like, well
so the one thing that sticks out to me and occurs to me while you're talking about this is, God almighty, that just sounds so exhausting of having to push back every time somebody brings me a problem when I know that I can solve it, or explain to them how I made the decision, or explain to them how they could work.
It sounds hard. Remove the word with exhausting. Just say hard.
It sounds hard.
Doing your job is hard.
Yeah. And I think that is the biggest part where you have to go, all right, once you click into your mindset that this is what I'm going to change because I don't like where I'm at now, I'm frustrated with the results that I'm getting now. It's not an immediate overnight fix. It's almost like you need to lock in for about 6 months of harder work and more frustration, because you're going to have to retrain the behaviors that you have trained for however many years that you've been doing it that way. And now I've got to be consistent and patient with it, because in 6 months, it's probably going to make itself a lot better. But now I've got to really dig in and go hardcore for 6 months to undo all that.
Because if you don't, what happens is you're going to scale, you're going to get bigger, and your monkey, you're just going to get more.
And more monkeys.
That's all it is. And here's the other side of look at it. If you're in the part of your career where you're looking at exit planning, I want to sell my business, I want to do this, I can tell you, if you're the monkey man, your business isn't worth a nickel.
Yeah, it definitely devalues it for sure.
Yes.
You have to consider it as an investment of, I can do this myself in an hour, or I can train somebody in 3 hours. That extra 2 hours is invested time that all of a sudden you're going to free up 20 hours worth of future work. But you have to invest that time up front. You have to sit down, you have to show somebody, how would you either show them how you would do it or ask them how they would do it. Either way, I mean, ultimately you have to take that extra time to slow down and invest that time.
I would take that a step further, because you have to, and this is maybe just me, but I think Chad's going to be in the same position. It's like, to me, if I'm going to spend this extra time and do it, I'm expecting you to learn it, write it down, make notes, do something so you can replicate this again in the future. But lots of people are just, transactionally thinking, okay, this is how I do it. So I've just had to say, okay, we're going to go through this together. I expect you to have a notepad. I expect you to make sure that this doesn't come back to me again. And then who are you going to teach so that they do it? Move it down the line, because I'm not just giving the monkey to you. Push it down the line.
Chad is going to burst here if he doesn't get to speak. So.
Yeah, hot take here. This may be completely erroneous. There's a possibility that you're not doing it the best way anyway.
Maybe.
Okay, so
assuming you're talking to the audience, not me.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely not
would
you.
Be erroneous. I mean,
there's a slight possibility that the process that you have implemented may be terrible. It may make sense to you, and you may think it's the best way to do it, but a different perspective could come and solve it a significantly better way. And it's not the process, maybe it's the outcome. And I think that this is something that I have fought with, and because I've taken these processes away from people, and I've watched the process be handed to somebody else and go, oh, wow, that took you 5 hours to do that, and that person can do it in an hour. Because and with a better outcome. So if you can get your head out of the process and more of the outcome, are we trying to get technicians to the customer? Are we trying to get the technicians to the customer in a specific way? Are we trying to order parts? Are we trying to order parts in a specific way? Are we married to the process? Or are we married to the outcome? And when we get stuck in the process, then that's a hard thing to hand off to somebody. And then you're stuck in now training that specific process. It could be that you just say, this is the outcome that I'm trying to get to, and say, I would like you to come up with a better way to resolve this. And now they own the process because it's better. And they can also be tasked with documenting the process so more than one person can do it. And then you're better in the outcome. But we get stuck so many times, and people go, well, this is how I have to do it because this is the way I've done it for the last 15 years. Well, a lot of things have changed from technology and process information and knowledge in the past 15 years. So you can probably get that in somebody else's hand, and they will see some things that are not obvious to you, and you can make some advancements very quickly. So I do think we get way too stuck a lot of times, and let me try to train you on how to do something when we are doing it poorly anyway.
Yeah, hiring new people is great.
Yeah,
for them to say, why do we do this? It seems stupid. And if you find somebody that asks that question, that's a good person to have.
Correct. Keep them around.
I mentioned this book before, Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell. Really good book for getting out of that zone of figuring out what you're doing. He talks about auditing your calendar, figuring out what you like, what you don't like.
What was the name of the book?
Buy Back Your Time.
Oh,
really good book. But one of the things he talks about there, and you mentioned this, is now he's more like, I'm going to train you on my process. So that's contradictory to what you just said. But he said exactly what Lars did. Don't document it yourself. Hire somebody. I think that's the first thing. You need to find your people. Who are your 2 to 4 people that you can start delegating stuff to, and you start going through stuff with them. Then you ask them to create that documentation. Like you said, Lars, sit down with a notebook. Here's what we're going to do. Here's, Chad said, focus on what outcomes you're trying to achieve. Make sure I think depending on the person's personality type, you need to be a little bit more specific versus general.
Yeah. Well, and it's also part of it also is going to be relative to the process. Like there is a particular way to key a cylinder and all those types of things, but there is also like, well, I process invoices this way. I set this paper here and then I move this paper here and then I move this paper here. But those are things that can be optimized. The
big thing he talks about is making them make the documentation so then, like you said, they can further scale themselves. But yeah, I think number one thing is finding those key individuals that you can delegate to, and uncomfortable thing might not be somebody currently in your company. That person has to be wanting to manage people, wanting to grow, and depending on who you currently have, they may not be interested in that. They may want to stay in their same role, and that's just fine. But you need to have a team of people that you can start delegating to at that 20 to 30 employee mark. Otherwise, you're going to get
you're not going to get to 20 to 30 if you don't have that team in place.
And if you have the mentality that they're not going to be able to do it the same way as I can, that is somewhat right. You're correct. They're not going to do it the same way. They're probably going to do it better, like you said. And you have to get over that. You have to find somebody that can complement you well. I know, again, we talked about this with the Visionary Integrator podcast, but you have to find somebody that has different traits than you and can look at things in a different way and really complement you.
Yeah, I think if you were to look at like a manufacturing or very systemized process business, you could probably scale with a lot more people faster because you would have one defined process that's repeated over and over and over again. But in the service world, when any type of trade, those individuals, every single person is making lots of decisions every single day. And the bottleneck, to summarize what we've been talking about, the bottleneck comes when all of those people are upscaling the decisions to another person and not making the decisions themselves independently. That is a significant limiter to growth. Where do you want me to go next? What part do you want me to order for this? Where do I need to order this part from? This customer is frustrated because I said this and you told them this. How do I key this cylinder? What key system do I use? Whatever. Those are the practical day-to-day things that people should be able to make their own decisions on or have access to those decisions faster. And that's the limiting factor of scale because they're relying on you for that information.
Yeah. Oh, I'm looking at the clock here and we're getting close to the time here, but I want to
long in the tooth.
I want to give you a chance both. When in your careers did you have that moment? Because I would say Chad certainly has got a team in place that makes a lot of decisions for the business. Judging by his 10 and his improvement in his golf game, he's got it figured out. Tony's company, I think, Tony, you were newer to the role you're in by a few years, but you've been doing this, 7 or 8. How long into your career as the CEO or whatever you want to call it, how long did it take you to have this moment? Or do you know? Do you remember it?
For us, it was 2 to 3 years because we made some acquisitions and then had too many people. And I was like, ooh. So we kind of like leapfrogged that glass ceiling by just buying other companies. And then we were like, oh, crap.
Sorry, when did you change your mindset? How long did it take you
at that
from
point,
making every decision to
3-4 years? Well,
3-4 years. Yeah. How about you, Chad? Do you remember?
From the time I had the realization till the time I was able to make the change?
Yeah.
So I think I made the realization around 2016 or 2017, and I know by 2019, but I think it was a little bit before then, 2018-ish.
Yeah, 2-3 years.
Yeah, it was where we were more functionally, and then same thing again in 2021.
Yeah.
Was another
What's the next
iteration,
one?
and then 23.
Yeah.
So they became faster as I was able to observe them and implement them faster.
Another thing I'll say, and I heard this from another company, it turned out to be true for us. There's a financial decision you have to make of kind of building in another layer of management. That layer of management doesn't become fully, I don't want to say optimized until you hit that like 40 employee mark.
Mm-hmm.
So from 20 to 40 employees, you're adding in that layer of management, and they're not always super
part-time.
productive because they're focusing on people and growing people and processes, and they have more capacity then at that point to handle more people management. And from 20 to 40, you're going to see a little bit of a hit in profitability because you have that extra layer in there, and you have to be comfortable with that, of knowing like, I'm going to go from 20 to 40 as fast as I can get there, the better, but there's going to be a little bit of a delay there, and until you see the gains from making that decision. So if you look at it, you promote a team of managers, and then all of a sudden after a year, you're like, ooh, my profitability's only about the same, and we didn't really grow. I think that there's going to be some, you have to be willing to go through that a little bit. And
reinvesting in the growth.
Yes.
And that's,
That-
you're going to see probably 9-10% return
You just
rather
said
than 14.
Yeah, you just said something there, Tony, that really, I think, probably needs to be unpacked. One, you've got to be willing to reinvest back in your company, but you have to look at a company about that size, and they're probably soaking up a majority of their profits in ownership earnings or ownership perks, and maybe they don't even realize it because they're probably going to say, "Well, I don't really pay myself that much," but they've perked themselves out of profit. So the reason I'm saying that is, there's probably also ways in a size business like that you can optimize your profits to be more profitable, or optimize your operations to be more profitable, but you don't have the time to do that because you are soaking up your time and making decisions further. Right?
Yes.
So you've now become this like crazy imbalance of, I can't become more profitable because I can't figure out how to find those more profitable elements, but also I'm trying to figure out how to delegate or to offload some of my responsibilities and decisions so I can trust people to do that. And simultaneously, I need to have more profit so that I can invest in more personnel, especially management, because they're non-revenue generating, they're revenue management.
Yep.
So it's this interesting perfect storm of, at what point in time can I reinvest back in the business? So I would say at that point of a size of business, you've got to do a lot of self-assessment. One, how many decisions am I making personally on a daily basis? Two, how much of the profit of the business am I saturating myself? And what is my minimum viable living expenses that I need to be able to free up some dollars to invest back in the company? I think a lot of companies at $3 million are living in a lifestyle business to where they are using the business and all of the profits from the business to fund their lifestyle, and they're not willing to give up anything to be able to advance the company forward. Now, that can be done one of two ways. One, you can get in there and find ways that the company can be more profitable, because every single business has those, in which you can just generate more profit without taking a hit on your personal lifestyle. If you are not able to do that, then you're going to have to take some of your lifestyle investment back into the business for the next level of growth. Is that?
Yes, absolutely.
Jive, yeah.
Yeah. And
It should be a short period of time, but you have to be willing to go through that. And
correct.
And it can you're not only investing your time from training somebody like we talked about a little bit ago, but you're investing your money and saying, I'm going to invest this, and I'm going to know that it will double, triple my return in a couple of years, but you have to be willing to make it through that.
And more accurately, I'd say it doubles and triples your time.
Yeah.
Because if you're in that glass ceiling right now, you're sitting in that chair all day, every day.
Yeah.
And you're sweating to go to your kid's wedding.
Yeah.
Right. That's the situation of most people in our industry. And realistically, a $3 million company is probably making about $300,000 in earnings. You need to carve off probably 70 of that to have a competent person in that role.
Yeah.
Right. So that's,
agreed.
I think just as a recap here, we've got, the first thing is you got to change your mindset. You have to change your mindset and understand that you have hit a glass ceiling because the amount of decisions being made are maxed out. You cannot make any more decisions. The second thing was finding that team to surround yourself with that can do it. You know, we've all got that person. And how did we do it? The old-fashioned way. Spent time with them, made decisions with them, gave them some rope, let them make some mistakes, talked about it, why it didn't work, why it did work, and then moved from there. I think the part I would add on to that, I think we just had a podcast, you know, probably a month ago, was how do you pass that? How do you encourage them to pass that on down the line? Because what you want to stay away from, what we've all done, I've certainly done, is I'm no longer the bottleneck. The person I taught is now the bottleneck. Right? So it just, my life's better, but theirs sucks. Yeah. Right. So how do we
teaching that? Yeah.
Yes. How do we push that down the line? Because if you just created a new bottleneck, you're right back where you started. So
yeah, that's probably a whole other podcast that we could dive into, is how are you setting up your next organizational team to not have those same limits? Because you know, it's something we assess all the time. I'm like watching, how often do these guys get a vacation? How are they on call 24/7, or have we created a better process to where there's a better work-life balance? So do you have anything else to cover on this, Lars, or have we?
No, I think that's the recap. Was there anything I missed?
I think that this was a fairly good topic. Good job, Lars. Good job, Lars. Yeah. And yeah, anyways, that's enough compliments. Thank you guys for the messages. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. We have a lot of distributors and manufacturer folks that listen to this podcast as well.
I noticed we had over 200 views on YouTube for one of the recent ones. Yeah. I don't know if that was just you guys watching it on repeat or what, but and that doesn't include any of the streams. That's wild.
The reason I bring that up is oftentimes the wholesalers, distributors, and manufacturers are working with these business owners, the locksmith business owners, and they're like, man, I can't get them to change this, or I can't get them to implement this, or we're having a hard time getting them to make motion. This is the reason why they're stuck in making so many decisions. That is the minimal decisions they don't want to make. They don't want to have to deal with those decisions because they're so trapped in making all the other decisions on a day-to-day basis. Just kind of an insight to the brain that's going on, the mindset that's going on inside of that owner or that operator.
I don't remember who's next. What topic?
Oh, Tony.
Tony put up his hand. That was a nice. Again, this is a podcast, Tom, and I make this mention every
and also
week.
We're not in school, but thank you for raising your hand.
Yes,
Tony in the back.
The guy in the green in the sauna. Yes, go ahead.
Yes. So you guys gave me some inspiration. I want to talk to you and pick your guys' brains on.
You're welcome.
Drink from me,
your annual strategic planning process. What you do for it. We've done it for a couple of years. We don't do nearly as elaborate of a process as it sounds like you guys do. And just to ask you a handful of questions and learn from you on that and what you do. I think that gives
to be
listeners
a fly in the wall of the assured security planning session.
That I think gives listeners plenty of time to implement whatever we talk about for their own strategic planning if they choose to. So that's
a good idea, Tom. Talking about it for 2026. If you're not looking forward to 2026 now, that's fine. You've got time. But September 1st is probably
by the time this airs.
By the time we record that podcast and it airs, it will be end of September. So that'll be
fine. So I also want to mention we are going to do some traveling together here.
Ooh,
right. And we are going to be together on location in Hartford, Connecticut for the MSC 2X program.
In case anyone needs autographs and book signings.
That's also possible. Or we can tell Chad to bring an extra suitcase with all the swag and left-handed coffee mugs. So, but if there is anyone there that is listening to these, that'd be great to have a chat with you.
Booth.
Yeah. Where else are we going?
Austin,
Texas. I was joking with somebody the other day, Rob Cadman from Brevo, and he said, you guys gonna be down at the conference the Cloud Summit, and I was like, yeah, we're going to do a live podcast recording. He was like, that would be the funniest thing ever, is to have you three on stage just berating Tony for an hour. I was like, yeah, that'd be great. We should do that.
Rob gets it. He gets it. He gets what this is really about.
Oh, the other thing, which we haven't talked about, I was down at, we should probably talk about Aloha at some point, but I went to Aloha down in Florida, and I had so many people come up and say, hey, we love the podcast, and poor Tony. That was just like, we listen to podcasts, poor Tony. And I was like,
they don't get the behind the scenes.
No.
He gets exactly what he needs.
So case in point, we literally hit the record button, and Tony drops off the call to go take a phone call.
He's like, I need to take this. And he's fixing a tea time is what was going on there. It's 100%. It's golf related.
And he's not denying it.
Yeah.
It was not golf related. It was sales related.
Oh,
I was delegating it to our salesperson.
Oh, you had a monkey.
Sounds like he was making a decision.
That's what I was doing. I was passing the monkey on to our salesperson.
Oh, little curious Tone.
Yep.
Curious little monkey.
Thank
Chad,
you very much for listening.
Where can they find us here?
Yep. It's a website. It's called unlockedpodcast.com, and you can see all of our blog posts there and see information about us. You can find more about our companies and all that relative to this podcast. So thank you very much for all the feedback that you give us, the emails that we get, the LinkedIn messages. Somebody sent us a message the other day and say, I made it through part 2 of the debacle that we had around
and that
selling
was a sludge.
value. Oof. So thank you for all the feedback on that and letting us know that you're listening. And again, when I'm at conferences, I know you guys the same way. People come up and let you know that they're listening and give you feedback on different topics. So very cool. It's exciting to be able to kind of give back to our industry and be able to share kind of what's going on in our businesses. So great topic next time is going to be around planning for the future, getting your strategic plan in place, how you do your leadership offsite, all of those types of things. So should be a fun conversation. Thank you very much for joining us this time. And we look forward to chatting with you on the next episode.